My Gargos Bogles deck is focused on casting my general as soon as possible, loading a ton of auras onto it, killing all my opponent's blockers with the giant Hydra, and drawing cards throughout the process to refuel my hand with more gas. It's a fairly linear game plan that has a lot of similar play patterns between games. Despite the fact that it's almost a pure Voltron deck, I still play 5 other Hydras in the deck because of Gargos' cost-reducing ability. One of them functions essentially as a removal spell, one of them helps me search through my deck for big auras, one of them helps me get damage in on opponents with more stout defenses, one of them is a board wipe for creatures I'm unlikely to block in green, and the last one is just really funny. Even though there are only 5 cards in this group, I would still consider this package of cards to be a sub-theme to my deck. And in general, playing a sub-theme in your commander deck is totally okay, especially if you're more focused on flavor, want to have fun with a specific game mechanic, or any other personal reason. But in the context of maximizing your chances for winning a commander game, there are better and there are worse ways to include sub-themes in your decks. Let's start with a couple of definitions. I came up with these specific word-for-word ones, so you or another creator may have another interpretation of any of these meanings. But let's go with these for the context of this video. To start, the game plan or main focus of your deck is your primary route your deck takes to achieve victory in a commander game. Going back to my Gargos deck, like I already said, its game plan is to ramp into Gargos, beef him up, and cause problems. The Command Zone podcast calls this a log line to your deck, which is essentially one concise statement that describes what your deck wants to do. A sub-theme is a collection of cards within a deck that all focus on the same synergy that doesn't completely align with the game plan of the deck. That is to say, they're a group of cards that don't 100% adhere to your game plan, but can still be used to progress you towards victory. An example of this would be the Hydra sub-theme in my Gargos deck. The Hydras don't do much to directly impact the way I imagine myself winning a game with the deck, but I still play them because of their synergy with my commander. Now, why would I play a sub-theme in my deck if I wanted to make it better? On paper, it sounds like the perfect way for my deck to lose focus on what it wants to do, but that's not always the case. Sub-themes often have a ton of different utility. In the case of some commanders, your primary game plan could synergize with one line of text on your commander, and a sub-theme could take advantage of another line of text on your commander. This can help you get some value out of your commander if your main plan is put on hold. It could also just add some more value to your main plan. Let's take a deck like Chulane, for example. The game plan of this deck is very likely to cast Chulane, play a ton of little creatures so you can draw cards and ramp, and probably win the game with a massive board and some type of overrun effect. But a lot of the best creatures that help you quote-unquote storm off are likely going to be elves. Knowing that, you can probably include more cards that synergize directly with elves and still get a lot out of them. It's not an elf tribal deck by any means, but you have an elf sub-theme to give yourself access to some really explosive cards. One final example that I really like is using Gearson's Starn. Let's say the main game plan is to play a ton of the 2-mana pingers, play a ton of cheap instants and sorceries, and start bolting things left and right. Well, we already know the game plan revolves a lot around instants and sorceries, and we want things to be dealing exactly 1 damage whenever Gearson is out. So let's play some cards that generate 1 power tokens from casting those spells. That way, we can double dip from casting the spells, get more access to sources of exactly 1 damage, and now you also have a different axis that you're attacking your opponents with. From there, you can introduce some more cards that enhance your tokens, like Tetsuko or Cavalcade of Calamity. This is an example of a token sub-theme done very well. So what do all of these examples have in common? If we look back at my definition of a sub-theme, I was very particular about my wording. A collection of cards within a deck that does not completely align with the game plan of the deck. This implies some level of overlap between the sub-theme and your game plan, and that's exactly when a sub-theme works well. The more your deck's sub-theme contributes to your deck's primary game plan, the more cohesive your deck will feel. This doesn't mean every card in your sub-theme has to go along with the main idea, but it can minimize the amount of clunkiness it would otherwise create. When your sub-theme works in service of your game plan, that's when you can really maximize on it. Playing Young Pyromancer in a Gearson deck capitalizes on the main plan to play a lot of instants and sorceries, and benefits you by feeding more single damage points into Gearson's triggered ability. So when is a sub-theme bad? Well, I pretty much spelled it out already. The less your sub-theme and main game plan overlap, the clunkier it's going to feel. If I play a card like Patchwork Banner or even Urza's Incubator in my Gargos deck, they have incredibly limited utility and don't service the rest of my deck at all, and they'll probably end up as some of the worst cards in the deck. This also holds true with other Hydras that have no utility besides being really big Hydras. More so, playing a card like Imperious Perfect in your Chulane deck would be much worse than a card like Priest of Titania. Despite them both getting value for elves, Priest of Titania's ability helps you to do your main thing more, whereas Imperious Perfect does something different entirely. Now, if we take the limit of this bad sub-theme idea, as overlap approaches 0, you end up with a terminal diagnosis. 2 game plans that are completely unrelated. It's a hellish wasteland, an endless purgatory where you want to do one thing, but your deck has other ideas. Oh, you want to pump your commander? Hydra. You want to draw cards for every enchantment you play? Hydra. You think you can escape? There's only Hydra, and there will only ever be Hydra. It's written in stone. You shall be punished for your mistakes and never see the light again. So, yeah. When you decide to incorporate a subtheme during the deck building process, be cognizant of how your subtheme cards benefit your main plan. Don't stray too far away from it, or you could end up with a pile of unfocused garbage that actively takes away from what your deck wants to do. I want to take some time to acknowledge that recently, I hit 1,000 subscribers, baby, let's go! I made a community post about it the day it happened, but it's absolutely wild how much traction I've gotten the last few days. I'm so grateful for all the support, and I'm so excited to keep making videos. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching, and if you're not already subscribed, please consider, because I think we're building something special here.